the paper. Clear? So let's go back to the salt preparation. There were some salts that I gave you as a homework. Can you tell me the salts that I gave you as a homework? Starting from what? Some of them we did in the class. Just me where. Right, potassium nitrate. So let me discuss with potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate. So this is the hierarchy, the thinking hierarchy, thought hierarchy that you have to process in order to decide is the salt soluble. Is the salt soluble? Potassium nitrate salt soluble?
Yes.
Yes, because it's a why it's group one salt. We did an exercise also like how to remember things effectively. So now once we do that in the class, it's up to you to carry that forward when you study at home, right? If you don't carry that, then it's very difficult, right? So then this is soluble. We wrote yes. So point then the question we ask, if it is soluble, then we have two pathways, titration or excess solid method, and the base is soluble. So potassium nitrate can be made by reacting. Definitely not with potassium and nitric because potassium is very reactive, while explodes with acids. So we don't choose that. Instead of that, one of the easiest one is use the hydroxide and nitric acid. By now, any child should be able to find out it's nitric acid, which will give potassium nitrate, because nitric acid is the one giving the nitrate ion, right? So then potassium hydroxide, then you ask the question, is potassium hydroxide soluble? If that is soluble, yes, then what you have to do? Use the titration method, right? So then it should be titration method. It should be titration method. And next one, potassium nitrate, and next one, copper sulfate, that is CuSO4. Is the salt soluble? Give me answers. Yes. Okay. No.
Yes.
No, get no. Yes, I know. So then how do you, why do you say it's salt insoluble?
You know.
Now, here you have to look at the sulfate solubility rule. Just take the sulfate solubility rule. Sulfates are soluble or insoluble. They are soluble except for lead and barium. So this is the normal sulfate which is soluble. So this is yes, right, soluble. Then again it is coming through this pathway, right? Then you have to ask the question, is the base soluble? So that you need to think about some reactions of copper sulfate. One is copper and sulfuric. Immediately we reject the reaction. Why?
Copper
Doesn't react with acids because copper is less reactive than hydrogen will react with series. Then we go for the common oxides and carbonates, copper oxide and sulfuric, which is a very common reaction, and copper oxide is definitely what? Insoluble. You know, transition metal oxides are insoluble. Your mind, okay? Memory and rule solving and not. So if the transition metals are insoluble, oxides are not metals, oxides are insoluble, so it is coming under this pathway, right? So then you have to use what? Excess solid method, right? Excess solid method. So very rarely that you get a chance to mark like this in the exam. They don't give a table, but I can't say they don't ever give a table like this. But this table is to make this hardest part in the syllabus easy for you, right? Okay, thinking process to improve your thinking process. Next, you have what?
barium sulfate.
Barium sulfate. Barium sulfate is something when you hear barium sulfate, it's in the sulfate list, one of the insoluble one. So then it is insoluble here. So nothing is important because you are going to what? Precipitate the salt. Precipitate the salt. Right? You are going to precipitate this. Next one. Nickel bromide. Now here, something very strange. Why it's very strange? You haven't heard about nickel bromide earlier. So what you have to do, you have to completely, carefully apply the solubility rules, right? So nickel bromide is a halide. So, under halides, is it soluble or not?
Yes.
Is it soluble or not? It's soluble. Okay, halides are the silver and bromine halides are the insoluble ones. So any other halide is soluble. Halide means chloride, bromide, iodides, right? So this is soluble. Soluble means coming under either titration or excess solid method. Then you need to ask the question, is nickel base? Now, nickel and HBr, quite anyway, you should understand it's going to be the HBr acid. Acid bromine should be coming from acid, right? So it should be HBr. So nickel and HBr. Last two sheets are 1% is number. 1% is. Right. So, or you can take nickel oxide, HBr, or nickel carbonate, HBr, nickel carbonate, HBr, right? So all of them are insoluble. Oxides are insoluble, carbonates are insoluble, nickel solid is insoluble. Therefore, this should be coming under excess solid method. Excess solid method. Excess solid. All right.
Yeah.
So this will be very important to you in all three papers, paper 1, paper 2, and paper 4, because so preparation, neutralization reactions. Magnesium nitrate, So that's why I'm taking 2 days for this lesson, such an important lesson. Magnesium nitrates they definitely soluble like and it's from magnesium. So magnesium, most of the bases are insoluble, therefore excess solid method, right? Okay, else are you following this? Right. Now, after doing this exercise, right? Like doing many examples, there may be some rules of thumb that you can follow for salt preparation. Rules of thumb means like the rules which are not 100% theoretically correct, but most of the time they're going to work, right? What are they? You might have figured out that titration method is for the salts which are usually from group 1 or ammonium salts. Titration method is for group 1 or ammonium salts. Make a filters there. Once you realize that you know group 1 now, definitely titration method because the group 1 bases are soluble, right? And the other fellows are usually anyway soluble salts, or I'm talking about soluble salts. Transition metal salts, metal salts, or group 2 salts. Group 2 salts are what? Coming under excess solid method, right? And so anyway, if the salt is insoluble, it's a precipitation method. The start then go make a decide note. So we use the rules of thumb. Potassium nitrate group on titration. Much faster. Right? Copper sulfate, transit metal, soluble one, transit metal in a excess solid method. Barium sulfate, insoluble precipitation. Nickel bromide, transit metal salt, excess solid method. So much faster, right? So why not you write those rules of
How does HDR
Finally, right? Right, guys, you have to spend your time here. Completely efficient as possible, no? But every time we come away, time they are everything part of the way also. Even a 5 minutes is really valuable for you, right? Okay, so let's go to the salt preparation. Just still writing, right? Give you a little 1 minute more, just 1 minute more to write down any important hints. I emphasize again and again for those who are not scoring high, spend more time on your knowledge on formula writing and bonding. That too will definitely improve your results a lot. Spend a little more time at home when you're studying for formula writing and bonding. Right? That's where your chemistry knowledge is going to get bottlenecked when you're studying. Electrolysis කරනකොට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ මොකද formula absent. Charges හොයාගන්න බෑ ions වල. Right? Or එක මතක නැහැ periodic table එක efficiently use කරන විදිය transient metals periodic table එකෙන් ගන්න බෑයි කියන එක. You can't take it from the periodic table things that you have to remember. Right? So you have to work on that. That's where your studying is going to bottleneck. Your knowledge is going to bottleneck. It's narrow. So the other lessons you can't understand. So I emphasize you to work hard on that two lessons, right? How much you spend time, it is still worth, right? Okay, so then how to prepare these salts? You know the procedures. For example, if you are making an insoluble soluble salt with an insoluble base, now, right? Rather than the text, the picture talks 1,000 words. You know that, right? So this picture will help us to understand this, right? So this is the titration method. This whole picture has summarized all the three salt preparation techniques, right? All the three salt preparation techniques. Let me explain you slowly and clearly. There is a small printing mistake to correct. This is potassium sulfate and this is lead nitrate. This is lead 2 nitrate. Please correct it first of all. Small printing mistake. All right. So this is how you prepare. This is how you prepare insoluble salt. This is how you prepare insoluble salts. Let's see how many steps. First, you get the precipitate. Second, you do what? Filtration. Right? Third, you do washing. Right? Fourth, you do drying. Don't dry. How many steps? 4. The shortest possible salt preparation. But only for insoluble. Lead sulfate is insoluble salt. When you are making an insoluble salt and you need to decide what are the reactants, there is a golden rule. What's the golden rule? What's the golden rule of making insoluble salt? Somebody remembers?
And should be soluble.
Reactants must be soluble. Now, for example, if you want to make lead sulfate, listen to me very carefully. මේව තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ bottle එක වෙච්ච තැන් ඉගෙන ගන්නකොට. In order to make lead sulfate, you do this. First, just break it to the two ions you need. Lead ion, sulfate ion. You need these two. Now, don't take our acid-based reactions. Metal acid, metal oxide acid, metal hydroxide acid, metal carbonate acid. Right? Don't take them. Now, they are for soluble salts. Now it's insoluble. You need lead. Get the lead ion from a soluble lead salt. So how do you decide a soluble lead salt? Solubility rules. So fix an anion to lead so that the salt is soluble. What's the anion you're going to fix? Nitrate. Why? You know all nitrates are soluble. So you decide, I'm going to use lead nitrate for this, which is a soluble salt, soluble substance. Right? Now you need sulfate ions. So choose a compound which has sulfate ions and it must be soluble in water surely. Then wage solubility rules දාලා හිතන්න මොකක් හරි compound එක soluble කෙනෙක්. කවුද? Group 1 sulfate. So give an example like sodium sulfate, potassium sulfate, lithium sulfate, doesn't matter. Even sulfuric acid, ammonium sulfate, any sulfate which is soluble. Make a or mind soluble rules. You get my point. So you decide here. I prefer sulfuric. The monkey one acids use but I am not using sulfuric as an acid. I am just using it as a soluble thing which has sulfate ions. Right? That this reaction shows here sulfuric is not acting as an acid. It's just acting as a sulfate donor. Is that clear? Mokadena golden rule like use two soluble reactants. Two soluble reactants. Two soluble reactants. Right? Last week, golden rule insoluble salt soluble reactants are there. You had to check the ions. I need lead ion, I need sulfate ion. So get a soluble lead ion compound, get a compound where sulfate is soluble. And then you just have to mix. Right? Step 1 is mix the two solutions and obtain the precipitate. Is that clear? Once the precipitate is obtained, you do what? Filtration. Releasing. The filtration karata madila may residue it's like impure. Let's wash it. Wash it with what? Rinse with cold distilled water. Or organic solvent is better to avoid anything insoluble. I mean, anything which can quickly soluble. Right? But if not, at least cold distilled water. Right? Not normal distilled. Right? And dry that in a filter paper. 4 steps. Right? Let's go to this slide. Making insoluble salt. Let's say you are producing silver chloride. Now they make a try current. Silver chloride. Silver chloride. Other no isolated මොකද කරන්නේ? Ions දෙක break කරගන්න. මොනවාද ions දෙක? Silver ion. Now how do you know it's +1? That's your memory. Silver, zinc and lead. You must remember. Silver is plus, zinc is 2 plus, lead is 2 plus. Why come on the periodic table in Ganda? Right? Silver is always +1 and Cl minus. Are you now decide how do I get a silver compound which is soluble to start off with? What an ion going to be connected to silver iron nitrate. So that's why we have chosen silver nitrate. Chloride ions. Chloride ion. Choose a compound where chloride is soluble. Color group 1. 1 sodium, potassium, lithium, even HCl is fine. Right? Okay. So then that's why we have chosen sodium chloride. And you get sodium chloride precipitate, sodium nitrate. So then the two solutions are mixed, then swirl and allowed to settle the precipitate. That's the step 1. Second, filter the residue rings on the paper with distilled water. Step 2. Okay, Mr. Day. Right. Last, the paper is then spread out to dry, and you get dry silver chloride after some time. And this is the ionic equation. It's very easy to write the ionic equation of such salt preparation. You need just the 2 ions and this. You get it? Do you understand how to write it? Okay, so I have given it enough resources for you to think, and now I explained it in detail. So the first one, I have given the procedure. Second one, I have given the procedure in terms of a diagram. What you guys have to do, you need to write the experiment steps for this one. Make it over experiment steps ටික right? You can get the help from the previous page. The steps are there. Just write down the 4 steps and label these things and enrich your notes with all the information I found. So basically, what are the steps? Have a look at the previous page and write them. Just replacing those compounds with these compounds. That's it, right? Our rules of even the nearby the numbers you can write in small letters. Okay, some of you said that you have English paper on English or single paper on Wednesdays, right? I mean, which Wednesday I put the class on? This Wednesday, right? This Wednesday, next Wednesday. Right now, I haven't put any extra class in haphazard manner, but I don't have other time to put. But definitely I can't put it when your exam papers are going on. So this Wednesday, do you have a problem? This Wednesday? This Wednesday, no classes, no?
69 then.
No, morning. Huh? Right? ඔගොල්ලෝ වෙන classes තියෙනවා නම් මොනවා හරි කරලා මේකට එන්න මට වෙන කරන්න දෙන්න මට වෙන time එකක් නේද? හරි. So this Wednesday I have put a class. On 19 දාලා තියෙනවා. Electrolysis revision එක. Right? This Wednesday morning. And then you said 24th you have what? Singular paper. What time you have the singular paper? Morning or evening? Morning. So what time normally it's over? Huh? 9:30 over. Or start? 11. So is it possible for you to come to the class straight away after the paper, or do you need a break? And I mean, in the break in the sense, paper right. If I put the class around 12 o'clock, right? Is it all right? So then I'll change the check, but I can't depend on your other classes. I'm really sorry about it. Then you get the video. Yes, ma'am. You have? You have school. School? ඕගොල්ලෝ එන්න ඕනේ. ඕගොල්ලන්ට ඒ ක්ලාස් එක වෙනම cover කරලා දෙන්න. You are doing it October? So then no. I won't be able to like, you know, uh, work with all your timetables. That's impossible. You guys understand that? And the mega lead, are you done writing this? At least by 7 o'clock, we have to finish the workbook, okay? Then start the past paper questions. We spend 2 hours on past papers. Anyway, while you're writing down, I have to give you some instructions, like, when you are choosing you have already chosen, I think, SEO. When you're choosing your A-level curriculum or your subjects, right? Don't listen to what people say in random places, right? Talk to the teachers who are teaching those subjects. Talk to people who are doing the subjects already in A levels. කවුරුත් බය කරා කියලා එක එක දේවල් වෙනස් කරන්න යන්න එපා. Spoke to one of the parents before I start the class also, right? Always talk to a teacher, right? Who is teaching, preferably both the subject, both the syllabi, right? So then you can get an idea, right? Anyway, final decision is in you, right? We can't be responsible on what you choose, right? But if you talk to us, we can help you. Now, here we have both Cambridge and Edexcel classes are going on, A levels, right? So we haven't seen a big difference in terms of choosing universities and all these things, the students being selected to the universities. There is no difference in Edexcel and Cambridge. If you have the qualification, both are equally recognized international qualifications, right? It's a matter of fact that what school you are going to do, right? For A levels, whether you are doing private, whether you are doing in a school. So some of the factors are important. For example, if you choose Cambridge, you better do in a school, reputed school. Because in Cambridge, you have laboratory experiments, there is a practical exam. Since you have the practical exam to do, so you choose a school, right? But if you're going to do private, you better do an exam because you don't have a practical exam. It's only papers. Is that clear? Right? Likewise, there are some factors that the qualification going to be decisive. Right? So then you can talk to a teacher, right? You can talk to us surely because we are doing, because even Cambridge, we are doing practicals here. Every Saturday, there are 30 plus kids, kids are coming throughout the day. Saturday class, you have seen, right? They are coming and doing Cambridge practicals, but still, I don't recommend. Right, I don't recommend someone, no, you come to my class and you can do private, don't worry, no need to go to a school. I don't do that because I know the value of being an A-level student in a school. So I don't tell that just because then I can get kids to do here practical. We don't work on money. We work on process, the quality of the process, right? So then Cambridge can not school at Oraga. That's good for everyone because you don't know the person who is doing private classes, tuition classes. He might exist or he might not exist in next year in the field, right? He might have gone to some other country suddenly, right? Name one. Right, again, okay, same one, yeah. It's called I'm talking about the security, right? It's called a game and then it goes down there, then for us, yeah, right? Up to what Mama but the country, you know, I don't want to. So far, Tamara passport, take one there, and then next country. Our camera, the great time in the world. From England, they know, everything. That's easy for having a one point at the end. But eat the bus, and was the next, like far away, right? Excel करना private का Excel issue एक अपने. But still, as a school teacher and a person who had a good school life, I had a very wonderful, amazing school life. So I always say, school if your parents are able to afford to pay, right, then do it in a school, right? Take care because you need your A level 2 years good time. Right? එහෙම කියලා මේක මම මාර පණ්ඩයක් ගන්න මම ඉරව කරන්න යනවා කියන්නේ that's not the motive. Right? That's not the motive. Right? That's the your personality development happens especially in the school A level life. ආගේ යාළුවෝ ටිකත් එක්ක personal development එක වෙන්නේ school. Right? And the school friends are like friends forever, normal. That's a famous thing. හරිද? School friends ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නවා. ජීවිතේ හැමදාම ඉන්නවා. University friends පස්සේ හම්බ වෙන අය ගොඩක් අය එහෙම නැහැ. Right? Therefore, it's better than get upset and by yourself, the foundation, current yourself, your cow, your mind. Like you can find friends, you can be a good friend, so you will get good friends. Right? And this is fact, right? However, distance got what Kalpunaving done, right? This, right? So finally, if I make it in a nutshell, I said, if you are taking an advice to do Cambridge or Dexter or change the school, you speak to experienced teachers, experts who are in the field, right? And also, if someone is telling, හැමතිස්සෙම බලන්න මෙයා මේ කියන එක මෙයාගේ marketing motive එකක් මෙයාගේ තියෙනවා. Is it bias? Right? එහෙම හිතන්න. ඒ marketing motive එක තිබ්බා කියලා හැමතිස්සෙම මේ කියන දේවල් ගන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? When it comes to කියන කතාව ඇත්ත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. There may be a marketing motive also. Right? ඒවත් හිතන්න. You are beginner to understand what people are telling. Right? And school change කරනවද නැද්ද කියන එකත් හිතන්න. Why do I change it? Right? Am I changing it with a proper evidence? A proper reason. For example, we know there were some of the really bright students who changed the schools. That's because they got good scholarships and also orientation for their higher studies with an assurance, right? For certain schools, right? And well known and reputed for that. So then it's all right. If not, because of that person is studying, this person is studying, suddenly like bloom like mushrooms, like certain news, don't choose. ඉතින් දන්නේ යකා හොඳයි නොදන්නේ යකාට වඩා. එහෙම කතාවක් තියෙනවනේ. නේද? දන්නේ යකා හොඳයි නොදන්න දෙවියට වඩා. That's how it is. Right? Okay. So think about it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So you are going to prepare zinc sulfate. Now listen. We are going to prepare zinc sulfate. Right? Now, zinc sulfate, this is the rule. This is the rule. Now, that route is slightly longer than slightly longer than the precipitation rule, right? However, this is a soluble salt, right? And you use insoluble base and an acid, methyl insoluble base. You're not using all of them, huh? You're not using all of them. You use one of them. Okay, okay, right? Mask දාලා හිටියේ නැතුනට you are start talking. Okay, I can read you, right? I can read your minds through your eyes, right? Okay, zinc oxide, zinc hydroxide, zinc carbonate, zinc powder. Any of these bases or the metal can be used to react with sulfuric acid. Is that clear? And that will give you zinc sulfate, and the excess base is in the filter bed. You have to filter it first. That is not your salt. That is to discard the excess base, which is insoluble. So this is the first step. Make a first step. Reaction is the first step. And filtering and getting rid of excess base is the second step. Third step, that's an extra step. It's a soluble salt. It's in the solution. You have to get it crystallized. Therefore, you have to heat until crystal saturation point to get the crystals. What do you call it? Heat until the saturation point to get the crystals. Right? Now the crystals appear. Now you filter it. After that, the same story. But now wash it with organic solvent. Organic solvent taking wash kara. Organic solvent, because these are soluble salt and dried. So how many steps in excess solid and acid method? 6 steps. Why the steps are more? Why the steps are more? Why the steps are more? මොකද්ද මැදින් ආපු step එක extra step එක? Soluble salt එකන්නේ. It's a soluble salt. You have to what? Crystallize by heating. And then obtain. You get it? So can you choose any of these solid and write the 6 steps here? Here is the help for you. Here is the help for you. When the steps sticker. The insoluble substance may react with metal carbonate oxide. Take a like. Suitable volume of acid is placed in a beaker. Small amount of insoluble added. Stirred, warmed if necessary until some remains. The solution is filtered, remove the solid, crystallize in an evaporating basin, and half what is evaporated, then leave it to cool, not enough. Right? So you have to follow. So don't use these steps. Right? I don't like this. You write the steps by looking at this. Okay, so you say add excess zinc oxide into sulfuric and stir it, heat it, and get rid of the excess zinc oxide by filtration. Heat the solution until crystallization point and obtain the crystals and filter off the crystals, rinse it with organic solvent and filter it, dry it. Make a golden rules තමයි ඉස්සලා කියලා දුන්නේ. අතල කියලා දුන්නේ soluble salt එක ගන්න methods දෙකයි. ඊට පස්සේ ඒකට මොකද්ද? මේ ඔයා choose කරගන්න ඕන reactor එක. ඒක golden rules දෙක තමයි අපි අතල කතා කරන්නේ. You might not have enough space in your tutorial, so please use a book or a paper and write them down and attach to this page. Okay, what are you going to do now? You are going to write the steps of preparing zinc sulfate, starting from sulfuric and any of these solids. You need to try how to prepare this. You have to choose any of these solids. You can use any of them. I wrote 5 reactions: metal and acid, oxide and acid, hydroxide and acid, carbonate and acid. So you choose anything, any one of these solids out of these 4, and then write the procedure. Rather than clear my procedure, you need to write the procedure because you have like 5 marks, 6 marks questions coming up in the. You must write it now. Until you write by your own, you won't be able to understand this. Right? I can be like dictate Indians, but you don't use that step. Take it in your ear. You wrote? Yeah. You? Sorry? Huh? Yeah, that's soluble salt. That's not, the blue one is only insoluble salt. We made the methods too. These are the 3 methods, huh? This is the titration method for soluble salt, but they all are connected at one point of the procedure. This is the soluble salt made by the excess solid method. This is the insoluble salt preparation, right? The easiest one is the insoluble one preparation, but there is a golden rule. So let me read this to you. Add zinc oxide to 50 cm for 1 mole per dm cube sulfuric acid. So he has extracted information there, very good. Then remove excess of zinc oxide. There, one thing he could have written, add zinc oxide. He could have written add excess zinc oxide, 50 cm cube 1 mole of sulfuric acid while the solution be stirred and warmed to ensure the reaction is happening, right? No need to write that, but. And the remove excess of zinc oxide by filtering. Heat the solution on the saturation point. Cool solution so crystals appear. Filter to obtain the crystals. It was it. Don't be service second. Wash and dry. Wash the filter with organic solvent and leave the filters dry. Very good. Right. Let's see ratios answers. Add excess zinc oxide to 50 cm sulfuric while it's being stirred. Remove the excess zinc oxide. I can remove the concrete. Filter and mix. Right. Take the zinc sulfate solution and heat on the saturation point. Filter the solution. Saturation point. It's an crystals and right. Once the crystal is formed, filter the solution. Wash it with organic solvent, try to very good. ඒ තමයි අමාරුම part එක syllabus එක. ඕක ලියනවා කියන්නේ ඔයාලට ඕන එකක් පුළුවන්. ඒ chemistry එක. So I can't be reading everyone's answer, but I'll read like 3-4 answers so that everyone can read through your answers when I give the feedback for those. Too short, too short. I mean, you have written very short now. For example, acid, zinc oxide, sulfuric, and excess. Minimally at the back, you say, and excess zinc oxide, okay, by sulfuric. White means third, right line, right? Filter, remove excess solid, heat until that you have given points, you have marks here, right? Heat until saturation, right? And filter the solution to obtain crystals. Brings wash with an organ solvent, what? That brings and wash the crystals with organic solvent and dry it. Answers and read them out so that add excess zinc powder to sulfuric acid, stir and heat. Heat until crystals are formed. Or excess zinc is isolate. Excess zinc isolate in second decade. Right. And when you do that, listen, if you have now she has used zinc powder. That's a better option. Why? When zinc powder reacts with sulfuric, there are gas bubbles. So you can figure out whether reaction is over or not by looking at the stopping of gas bubbles. Right? Just remember. Take a down. Take what steps heat until crystals form. Okay. But take a cutting or a filter in the solution heat and obtain the crystals by filtering. Rings with organic solvent and then rise between the center. Take the down. Then you get through. Good, we are going well. Remember, there has to be an indication where the reaction has stopped. How do you know whether the reaction has stopped? Where reaction has stopped, there are two ways. One is, huh? No, the first reaction. Saturation point method first gas produce. Gas produce in the reaction bad. If there is no gas produce, how do you know the reaction has stopped? Yes. How do you know the reaction has stopped? No. Reduction of salt you can't see.
Gas bubbles stop.
No. Gas bubbles in the reaction. Using the reaction. The solid starts not dissolving. Sulfuric or dissolvent basic. Yeah, dissolving another reaction. So those are some extra points. Okay. All right. So the last one I'm going to read for this exercise. Add excess of zinc carbonate and stir until most of it dissolved in where? Monosolution. Add excess of zinc carbonate. මේ step එකේ mistake එක class එක හදන්න බලන්න. Add excess of zinc carbonate and stir until most of it dissolve while heating. එක mistake එකක් තියෙනවා ඒකේ. මොකක්ද?
To sulfuric acid.
To sulfuric acid. Add කරන්න ඕනේ කොහාට තියෙන කියන්නේ. Right? And filter out the excess zinc carbonate to get the pure, no need to say pure solution, get the solution. Heat the solution gently while stirring until crystals form. Very good. Saturation point of crystals form. They came up here. Filter the crystals and rinse the organic solvent, dry them in silver. Very good. Let's say 6 marks. You get 5 marks out of 6. Right? All right. So you guys are all right with that. Let's go to the last one. This is, listen. Again, soluble salt preparation. Soluble salt preparation, but forming the salt is different because both of them are soluble, I mean, both of them are soluble, so you won't figure out whether reaction is over or not. Let me repeat, since both the reactants are soluble, you can't figure out whether reaction is over or not. Therefore, we have to choose titration method. We use an indicator to see whether the reaction is over or not. So we take 25 cm, I mean, we take 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide and put into the conical flask. So we do titration and we put HCl in the burette, right? And we run the titration. And when the indicator changes the color, we find the volume needed by HCl. Let's say you need 15 for this 25. Now we know 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide needs only 15 cm cube of HCl exactly from the titration. What we do, now this is with phenolphthalein. Since we have the phenolphthalein in the solution, you can't crystallize it. Phenolphthalein crystallization. So you need to, this is your step 1 titration. Step 2 is repeat without indicator. Repeat without indicator. Repeat without indicator. Right? Then how do we know the what volume the reaction happens? Because previously we found the volume. So you repeat without indicator. Use 25 of sodium hydroxide and 15 of HCl. Right? The indicator neutralization point. After that, the same story. Here, heat until the crystallization point. Get the crystals, allow it to cool and filter. Allow it to cool and filter. And wash. Right. A path එකමයි තියෙන්නේ. What is the only difference? The way the salt is made is different. Titrate කළා තමයි හදන්නේ. So now what's the target here? To prepare sodium chloride. To prepare sodium chloride, you have chosen HCl and sodium hydroxide. Make a steps higher clear. So now you should feel these are very similar stuff. Right? You need to understand where things are different. Yeah. You might get an help from the printed note I gave you. Let me check the printed note also provide. Titration method is used. Pipette indicator is and then the solution alkali slowly in the burette. Total change the indicator order. Again, okay. So it has nicely explained the titration part. This is okay. This is okay. But after that, you have to put the rest of the steps. Right? Rest of the steps. But you don't have to write all these steps. You can say titrate 25 cm cube of acid. No, titrate 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide with the acid in the burette using the indicator. That's how you say. How do you say that? Titrate 25 cm cube of the base solution, right? By using acid added from the burette, right? Use an indicator. Okay. And then find the volume. Repeat the experiment without the indicator and the normal steps after that. Did you write? Yes, you know, it's yeah. Lot of information. Making some
Are we now?
Okay, Abhishek, right? Get 9 out of 10. That really better feel there. You know, where do I my point is I want to like reduce the line. So like, right? For the student. You're asking help for the first step, so then I'll give that for the whole class. So first of all, you say measure 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide using a pipette and put it into the conical flask. It's a lahagan. Fill the burette with HCl. Measure 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide using a pipette and put into the conical flask and add few drops of phenolphthalein. Indicator that. Fill the burette with HCl and run the HCl solution until the indicator changes the color. And measure the volume. So it's a kind of a long step, first step. Repeat the experiment without the indicator. After that, the same steps. Okay. So it's a little long because you need to explain the type question. Yeah. So I'll read that for the whole class so that you can also listen. Titrate 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide by using acid with phenolphthalein indicator. So she has not written enough details about the first step, like for example, measuring 25 into the conical class and having burette, LCL with burette. But it's all right. If the answer is going to be somewhere around 5 marks, The other steps might fill that gap. Okay. Find the volume of HCl needed to be nitrate sodium hydroxide. Nitrate sodium hydroxide again without indicator, a fresh sample. Heat the mixture until it becomes saturated. Now there is no filtration in the middle because there is no any insoluble waves, right? So heat the mixture until it becomes saturated. Let it cool till crystals form. Filter the solution and obtain the crystals. Rinse with organic solvent and then dry with the filter. Full marks. Even though she hasn't put a lot of information about the titration step, it just she gets full marks, right? Is that Tadiyamalian balance? Answer, you're not sure. Yes, quite a lot. Titration is carried out by using burette to add HCl to conical plastic. A very smart way of writing that. One statement, everything is there. Really there. Titration is carried out by using a burette to add HCl to the conical glass with 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide solution. One shot of polyol, HCl is added by burette polyol. Titration is carried out by using a burette to add HCl to conical plastic 25 sodium hydroxide until the phenolphthalein indicator changes the color. So measure the volume. Conical glass. So then it contains sodium hydroxide. You can explain, but you can't copy the answer. එළියලි වරයින ගන්න මේක පටන් ගන්න. MCQs ටික පටන් ගන්න ඉක්මනට. Have around 20, 22, 23 MCQs, but you get only 15 minutes to do. And those who have done, you can give me the answer to read out and give the feedback. So I'll read 2 or 3 more answers you have. Okay. Read Karambala. To 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide solution and phenolphthalein indicator in the conical glass or the titration glass. Then using a burette, HCl is added until the color changes, right? After that, volume of HCl is recorded. We can just say add HCl for burette to the conical glass until the color is changed. Measure the volume. Repeat the experiment without the indicator. Heat the solution at the saturation point. Filter the crystals and wash with organic solvent and dry it. Very good. Right? After heat කරාට පස්සේ පොඩ්ඩක් හැම එකේනම ලියලා නැහැ. Allow the solution to cool to form crystals. ඒක ගොඩාක් අය miss කරලා තියෙනවා. Right? We are not going to filter it when it is hot. You have to let it to cool for crystals to form. There are some other little areas that we didn't discuss with the theory, but we'll be discussing them with the questions today. Questions වල තියෙනවා ළමයි ගොඩාක් කරන්න. ඉක්මනට කරන්න. Right, then with the turns of the problem, which not in the. So, this is the gun. I want to everything to be able to. It's just the gun. Well done. No, no, okay, sorry. All still what is for the insoluble. Fill the burette with 50 cm cube HCl, slowly drop it into. You are dropping the burette. It's not dropping. Drop it to 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide with the phenolphthalein indicator. Measure the volume needed. You're not dripping all the 50 cm cube. You have to find the volume needed. And repeat experiment without indicator. Keep the heat to obtain crystals and filter it when cool. Very good. Right? Short that direct. Rinse that with cold distilled water away. Organic solvent and dry it can filter be able to obtain this right. Win without boasting, without excuses, right? Titration method. Measure 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide and phenolphthalein indicate into conical flask. And HCl by using a pipette level burette until it changes the color. Measure the volume. Repeat the titration. Heat the mix until saturated the point. Let it cool. Labai mangena darne. Heat the mix until saturated. Let it cool. That crystals form. Filter the crystals out. Rinse it with cold organic solvent, not distilled water. Dry with the paper not much better. Now much better. If I say much better. Doing well. You have time till 7:20 to finish the. Like open the paint and the browsing open. ඒ සාමාන්‍ය open කරන ටක් pop up වෙනවනේ. browser එකේ open එක pop up වෙන්නේ. හරි කරගෙන. You don't get it. Measure 25 cm cube of 1 mole of sodium hydroxide using pipette into conical flask. Good. Measure and nothing from that. So next is sodium hydroxide is the alkali. So you have in the acid process. You said alkali from. The conical flask has the alkali. The burette must contain the acid. Right? And indicate into the conical flask. Note the volume needed to finish the color. Very good. Repeat it with the fresh sample of acid and alkali without indicator. Good. Now in the mix at the saturation point. Allow me to cool so that this is all filter the solution. Good. So yes, hydration. Yes, all 20 questions. Hurry up, 20 questions. Huh? No. Because this is kind of a and one more of HCl group you get into the indicator and time to once solution change the color, record the HCl needed. Repeat the process that you indicate that need the solution point. after the distance small distance, little most of distance with our problem nice little available. MCQs කරන්න තව විනාඩි 10යි තියෙන්නේ. විනාඩි 8යි තියෙන්නේ. 7 minutes actually. Minutes. Do as many as possible. Don't get stuck with unknown ones. Really? Like insanely white. It's darker. You can get it darker than this. There are areas that I didn't cover in the theory field, which I will cover with the MCQs, right? One more minute. All right, so we are done. Let's get going with the discussion. I might go a little faster in order to make it like timely done. Which reaction is not typical? Not typical for a dilute acid. You know, the typical reactions with dilute acids include acids with metal oxides, right? These are the stuff that we learn. Metal hydroxides, these are the bases, and the basic compounds such as metal carbonates, even metal sulfides, right? These are the typical reactions of metals, I mean acids. And so this is a hydroxide, this is an oxide, this is a carbonate. So all these are neutralization reactions. And this one, as we learned today, look at this. This is a salt and you're preparing an insoluble salt. This reaction is called precipitation reaction. This is a precipitation. Precipitation is not very typical for acid reactions. Therefore, the answer is C. Next one, a black powder is burnt in air, right? It's a black powder. You might guess it can be carbon. The gas produced dissolved in water to form solution R. So you stay with your decision. Carbon reacting with oxygen will give you carbon dioxide. And the solution R is close to 7. That means close to 7. It's not 7. That means it may be slightly acidic or slightly basic. You know that carbon dioxide dissolving in water. We learn on the acid rain, but this is not acid rain. The normal rain is around 5.6 and 5.5 to 5.5 to 6. That's because of a little bit of carbonic acids, right? The gas is readily absorbed. Here the case, sodium hydroxide is a base. That means this gas is reacting with sodium hydroxide. The gas is an acidic gas. So all information tallies with carbon dioxide. Therefore, the black powder will be what? Carbon. So what type of substance is present in R? R, they're asking, is it acidic or basic? Yes, it's a very weak acid, right? It's a very weak acid. So write all the other information also. How will it be like come to the conclusion? So you need to know. Right. So why is ethanoic acid described as a weak acid? Right? It undergoes slight dissociation. This is a 5-second question because it is a definition thing. No? Weak acid undergoes incomplete dissociation. It's a definition thing. You straight away write the answer. Ionization is like dissociation into ions. Right? Next. Which compound will not produce ammonia when heated with ammonium sulfate? This is a reaction. We did it under bases, right? And what is the general reaction for this? Ammonium salts reacts with what? Strong, yes, bases or strong base to give ammonia, salt and water. So what kind of a substance should react with ammonium sulfate? A strong base. So let's see the strong base. This is calcium oxide. This is magnesium oxide base. Sodium hydroxide is base, and all of them are like kind of good bases. And sulfuric acid is an acid. It doesn't react with ammonium sulfate. So it is the answer if we ask not produce ammonia. All the other three salts produce ammonia because those are bases. All the other three bases produce ammonia because all of them are bases. Bases react with ammonium salts to give that. So in order to improve your knowledge, why not you try writing those three reactions as a homework? For example, calcium oxide with ammonium sulfate, you get ammonia given out, ammonia given out, calcium sulfate plus water. This is an example. You need 2 ammonia here. You can try the same reaction with magnesium oxide, ammonium sulfate, right? You can try the same similar reaction with sodium hydroxide, ammonium sulfate. Think about the products. Magnesium oxide and ammonium sulfate. Magnesium oxide and ammonium sulfate will give you ammonia, magnesium sulfate and water, right? Sodium hydroxide and ammonium sulfate, ammonia, sodium sulfate and water, right? That methane format ammonium sulfate strong base, ammonia, salt and water. So the salt has to be magnesium and sulfate, sodium and sulfate, right? So every single thing and rules given in the class will improve your marks in the exam. So make sure you write them down. And little activities that I recommend you to do as a homework will definitely improve your marks. Don't ignore them. If you ignore them, you are ignoring your marks. If anyone needs more help on any point, please let me know. I will explain. Don't worry. Right, so let's go to question number 5. The pH of aqueous solution of hydrochloric acid is 2. Oh, right. Make it a comma, right? For some people, it's hard in the sense that you don't know what to do. Some of you, basically, you don't know what to do. Right? Solution. Some people are like that. Sodium chloride bad now only right? Some people are thinking. Answer right, let's see. Sodium chloride is an acid. Is it? Right? Sodium chloride, sorry, hydrochloric acid is an acid. Sodium chloride is a What?
Salt.
It's a salt. What kind of a salt? Neutral salt. Right? It's a neutral salt. Why do you say it's neutral salt? It's made of sodium hydroxide and HCl. Strong as it's strong base salt. Make a neutral salt. So first of all, we are going to think about 2 HCl and sodium chloride have a reaction. Do they have a reaction? This is an acid. This is a neutral salt. Do they have a reaction? Don't they have a reaction? They're going to be upset again. What do you think whether they react or not? Another way to ask this. Right? No reaction. It's an acid. Acid එකක් neutral compound එකක reaction එකක් නැහැ unless there is a precipitation. Precipitation is there. So you just add some neutral stuff into pH2 acid. And it's a solid. So the volume is also not changed. Therefore, there's nothing is going to happen to it. Right? So the pH still remains. Whose concentration? I mean, HCl concentration. Where the end is solid, they got the solution. Solid, they got the solution. Solid, they got the solution, they got the concentration, they use it. Water, they are water, they have concentration, you're putting more water. Then the pH should increase or decrease. Let me read this. It should increase. Very good. Because the acidity of the acid is going to go down. So the pH goes up. Okay? Then mask Which statement doesn't describe property of a weak acid solution? Article we need to read. Not describe. It forms salt with sodium hydroxide, fine, basic reactor, salt. It has pH between 8 and 9. Is that the answer? Yes, because they are not described. Weak acid pH key 3 to 5. Not described. It is only partly dissociated in ions. It reacts with sodium carbonate to give off carbon dioxide, all right. When the Samara mark A, some of you mark A, right? How many of you mark A? No? C? No? D? Okay, acid they got the carbonate take one of them. Carbon dioxide, right? They asked which not. You guys are shy to say that you go wrong, right? When you are shy to say that you go wrong for a teacher, that means you are shutting the doors for the improvement, right? Hey, ඔයා වැරදුනා මට මේක මෙහෙම වුණ නිසා වැරදුනා කියලා ටීචර් කිව්වේ නැත්තම් ඔයාට ෆීඩ්බැක් එක හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. වැරදිච්ච ළමයින්ට මගේ ඉන්ඩිවිජුවලි ෆීඩ්බැක් එක දුන්නා. ඊට පස්සේ ආ ඊළඟ සැරේ හරියට ලියනවා. If you are shy to say that you went wrong, then how you went wrong, you are closing the doors of improvement. Which reaction doesn't involve neutralization? What was the name? Just check whether it's a typical acid-base reaction, right? This is an acid. This is a well-known base in the syllabus, ammonia, and this is a salt. Neutralization or not? The neutralization. Take out the acid deca. On the කලබලකාරයෝ මොකද කරන්නේ? ඒක acid එක neutralization. Okay, it's okay. ඔබ තමයි යන්නේ. Right? ඇයි මේක acid එකද? No. You have to check the rest. Barium fluoride is a salt. Can acid and salt react? No. They can react. Precipitation. It can be precipitation. the salt can be basic. Basic salts, එතකොට පුළුවන් like carbonates. අපිට නැහැ කියන්න බෑ. If it is an acid and a neutral salt and no precipitation, then no reaction. So make a normal neutral salt and then we can see this is a precipitation. Precipitation. Right? I'm going to give you another very tricky question after this regarding the reactions. Haridha, හොඳට මේක analyze කරලා ලියා ගන්න. Some of you guys are taking this very light. You can't take it like that. This is acid, base, neutralization, acid, base, neutralization, make a precipitation, make a තමයි neutralization එකක් නැති reaction. Okay. So you know precipitation reaction, you know neutralization reaction, don't you? Now I'm going to give you a reaction. You have to tell me whether it's a neutralization reaction or whether it's a precipitation reaction. Okay. I'm going to give you a reaction on the board. And tell me whether it's a neutralization reaction or whether it's a precipitation reaction. Way reaction දෙකේ products ලියලා කියන්න බලන්න මේක neutralization ද precipitation. ලියලා බලන්න.
But that we say utilization and precipitation.
If you figure it out something like that, yes. Neutralization.
Or H2, OH.
මේ question එක අහනකොට හැමදාම මට මතක් වෙනවා පරණ comedy drama series එකක් තියෙනවා. නෑ ඒ mind language නෑ සිංහල එක. ඒකේ අහනවා මේ සුද්දෙක් අහනවා මේ ඉංග්‍රීසි දන්නේ නැති එක්කෙනෙක්ගෙන් මේ ඉන්ටර්විව් එක ප්‍රශ්න ටිකක්. ඉංග්‍රීසි දන්නේ නැති එක්කෙනා ඒ ප්‍රශ්න වලට ආන්සර්ස් වෙනම බයි හાર્ට් කරගෙන ඉන්නේ. හරිද? සුද්දා මොකද කරන්නේ ප්‍රශ්න ටික වෙන ඕඩර් එකකට අහන්න. අරයා ඕඩර් එකට ආන්සර්ස් ටික අර ඉතින් තමයි ජොබ් එක දෙන්නේ. He is asking, are you mad or am I? Right? අර මිනිහා ඕඩර් එක තියෙන්නේ four. Five. Right? ඒ වගේ තමයි මේකේ ආන්සර්. Right? So you have to watch පරණ comedy එකක්. Is this neutralization or precipitation? Both. Right? Are you mad or am I mad? I'll show you. So this is both. Why? The reason is barium sulfate is a precipitate. Barium sulfate is a precipitate. Plus, this is a base. This is an acid. Here, water is produced. So, isn't it a neutralization? Neutralization of the precipitation. Okay, are you mad? Oh, I am fine. Both. Right?
Yeah, mine. What did you? Yeah, mine. That's good.
Right, next one. All right. You have been schedule. Hurry up. Airport කියන උත්තරය Yeah, no, Sudha was going to give a job as a chef in a small food like a yeah, padang karanga can you cook poppers and rice and no so he wanted to impress the Sudha and said, go. Right? The Sudhas, are you mad? Because he gave all the wrong answers for the previous question. So Sudha was mad at him. Right? That's why he finally asked, are you mad or am I mad? And then he said, go. You know, it's really funny. I don't know. It's not like funny as you are very modern type comedies. Yeah, you have a lot of double meaning, but they are like very pure comedies, like very little double meaning. Right? Which element burn in oxygen to form acidic oxides? Right? Acidic oxides are produced from what elements? Non-metal elements. So calcium is a metal, calcium oxide is a base out. Carbon is a non-metal. It produces carbon dioxide, which is an acidic bond. So that's the answer. Iron is a metal. Magnesium is a metal. Those are old school comedies. Right, next one. Which row correctly classifies the oxides in the table? Right? Carbon dioxide acidic, copper 2 oxide amphoteric, correct that? Copper 2 oxide, let me make a metal. This is a metal, so it should be what? Basic. Copper is a metal, copper oxide should be basic. Right? Zinc, remember, this is known as amphoteric metal. So is its oxide amphoteric. What is meant by amphoteric? It can react with both. Both what? Acids and bases. Right? Amphoteric means can react with acid and base. The basic amphoteric. Otherwise. There, class door is open to you. You can ask the questions in the class day. Okay, actually, the question that you should have asked, that's a very good question to ask. Why is that amphoteric? Right? Unfortunately, I can't answer. Not that I don't know. Class that in the other class I could have explained. Because you need a theory called electronegativity in elements. Electronegativity current level is too complicated, right? They can come explain it, right? But a better question you could have asked, right? Do we have other amphoteric oxides in the syllabus? Why? You need them. If they ask, you should be able to figure it out. What are the other amphoteric elements and the oxides you have in the syllabus? Not all, copper. It's a basic one. Aluminium oxide. Aluminium is a metal, but it's amphoteric. And aluminium oxide is an amphoteric oxide. Amphoteric means aluminium can even react with acid and base. Aluminium oxide can even react with acid and base. Anyone? Any more? Do you know any more? Any more? No. Iron is normally basic oxides. Iron is a metal. No. Amphoteric means they will react with both acid and base to undergo neutralization. Lead is amphoteric. Lead, Pb. And lead oxide is also amphoteric. So those are some extra stuff that you need to know. However, the answer is B. Which of the statement about the preparation and the properties of ammonia is correct? ammonia, NH3, weak base, right? Ammonia is formed in ammonium chloride, ammonium salt, not bad. React with acid is wrong. Target the reactor and ammonia gas with a base. The rule ammonium salt with base will give you ammonia, right? Ammonia reacts with sodium hydroxide yes, to form salt and water. But it's wrong because it doesn't mention the production of what gas? Ammonia gas. Then otherwise, no, this is a different story. I'm sorry. Ammonia is a base, and this is also a base. No ammonia, not a salt. Base and base won't react anyway. It's wrong. Ammonia reacts with water to form hydrogen ions. No. Ammonium hydroxide give you ammonium ions and hydroxide ions. Ammonia is a base. A solution of ammonia in water has a pH greater than 7. This is the answer. Listen to me. Especially those who are not in the revision class. Revision class, we have discussed about what? Smart ways of handling MCQ questions. Right? Because revision class again, make the making ABC answers to difficult to think, right? You're not sure whether correct or wrong. Right? Therefore, there's high possibility that you get stuck in one of these statements and kill your time. Once all the three statements been read and wasted time, only you find the fourth one is very clear and correct because ammonia is a base, pH is greater than 7. And now you mark it. Your answer is correct, but you have already killed 5 minutes for this. That's disastrous for your exam. So in revision class, I have told you a way of handling questions. What do you call it? Scanning. Right? Scanning means before you go in-depth analysis of each statement, first scan the answers. Scan the answers means just read it fast. Right? It doesn't mean that you are going to decide. You just read it fast. And sometimes you may be lucky to find a clear, correct statement. Don't get distracted by the tricky statements. However, clear, correct statement. Now, this is very clear. Solution of ammonia is a base in water greater than 7. Base is greater than 7. Then we are pretty sure that the answer is correct. So then we have what? Save a lot of time. Sometimes scanning might not find an answer. That means you have to analyze it and find. But scanning can help you a lot in the exam to reduce time wastage in easy questions. But I emphasize again, scanning doesn't mean that you have to decide the answer straight away. Right? Once you decide it, you have to double check it several times to make sure that you are not being distracted by the tricky answer, wrong answer. Right? Okay. Which pair of gases are both non-acidic? That is again a tricky question. What is meant by non-acidic? Right? Right? Non-acidic let's say I'm going to say Abhishek is not a bad boy. Right? Right? So does it mean that he's a good boy? No. No, he can be neutral or a good boy. Right? Okay. Let's say I'm saying acidic. So Abhishek. Abhishek is not a good boy. Does it mean that he is a bad boy? Yeah, that is better. It doesn't mean that he's a bad boy. He may be a bad boy or a neutral. Right? Luckily, I asked whether. No need. Too much there. Okay, non-acidic means it can be basic. It can be what? Neutral. Right? ගොඩක් අය හිතන්නේ non-acidic කිව්වම මොකක්ද? Basic correct. Exactly opposite, right? So ammonia is basic. How about methane? Methane is a hydrocarbon lamai. It's neutral. එහෙනම් කෙලින්ම answer කරනවානේ. Because here this is acidic, carbon dioxide is acidic, nitrogen dioxide is acidic. So then they are all out. So are there any some knowledge points to gather in this question? Are there any amphoteric එක ඇහුවා වගේ මෙතන එකක් නැද්ද දාන්න ඕගලන්ට? Not your A-level questions, right? Yeah, one now you found hydrocarbons are what? Hydrocarbons are neutral. So you have to ask, are there any more neutral gases in our syllabus? Questions on down. Do we have more neutral gases in the syllabus? Do we have more neutral gases in the syllabus? What are they?
Oxygen.
No, oxygen, nitrogen, element gases. Now this point is not wrong, but element gases, you know them anyway, they are neutral. Anyway, they are neutral, except for chlorine, which can react with water and produce acids. I'm talking about other gases which are oxides or maybe compounds, would be neutral. Are there any gases like that? Do we have oxides or other compound gases? Element O3. No, metal oxides are bases. Permanent oxides are acidic. There are some deviations. Give me some neutral gases. There are 3 neutral stuff you need to know in the syllabus. Huh? Water vapor, correct? Water is an oxide, isn't it? Very neutral. Carbon monoxide, neutral. Nitrogen monoxide, these 3 are neutral. Then again, in the exam, we can't play one. Knowledge bank, you could have it. So you put that in the knowledge, use it. Right, which 2 reagents could be used to prepare the insoluble salt? Insoluble salt, insoluble salt, insoluble salt. Use the golden rule. Use 2 soluble reagents. The answer. Huh? The answer. C like, hey, both aqueous, right? The golden rule. Which acid and base react together produce insoluble salt? You just learned, what is it? The neutralization reaction, you get a precipitation. What is that? Am I mad or are you mad? Both? Barium hydroxide and sulfuric acid is a neutralization reaction as well as what? Barium sulfate. Right. 14. Titration of an acid against base method often used for preparation of salts. You learn it. Titration is used when acid is soluble, base is soluble, and also what? Salt is soluble. Right? So what's the choice? D. When we are building the confidence, here the confidence killers, right? Hey, calcium sulfate. Now you put that into our thought hierarchy. First one, is the salt soluble? Calcium sulfate soluble, that is slightly soluble in water. Killer. Why? Soluble කියන්නත් බෑ. Soluble කියන්න. So we are in trouble. How to? Both, yes. We can say both. Basically, both එක අල්ලලා කියලා හොඳට. Okay. Right? So it's slightly soluble, right? Undergo. Now it's a killer. Why? We can't decide any of the titration, any of the salt preparation methods. But it is insoluble also in one way, right? So you might do what? Precipitation. Public precipitation only put one thing in a bottle. So you just think, okay, this is a precipitation. So assume precipitation. So you need two soluble stuff. Calcium is soluble like sulfate is soluble. And a calcium nitrate, sulfuric acid or sodium sulfate or something. Let's scan for the answer. Calcium carbonate soluble, the carbonates soluble or insoluble? Insoluble, so it's out. So now here we are assuming slightly soluble means insoluble, right? Calcium chloride soluble, insoluble hadana, soluble then කොහොමද? Calcium chloride soluble, soluble or insoluble? On top. It's soluble, correct. Ammonium sulfate soluble?
Yes.
Ammonium sulfate soluble?
Yes.
They all ammonium salts are soluble. So two soluble things. One has calcium, the other one has sulfate. And we are assuming this is insoluble. Is it suitable?
Yes.
Yes, then the answer. No confidence killers are not
Yes, slightly soluble.
soluble. Then you have to choose for what? Acid and base reaction. So do you have acid and base reaction? Yeah, maybe base එකක් ඉන්නවා මේ acid එකක් නෙමෙයි out. Salt එකක්. Salt එකක් out. ඒක පුළුවන්. Answers done. Here we are behind the schedule. Let's move on. Which salt can be prepared by acid alkali reaction? Then මාර pass වෙන්න ඕන ළමයි. Acid alkali reaction. මේ ඔක්කොම titration මේ. Sorry. Transition methods. Transition. Right? They all are in what method? Excess solid method. Rule of thumb today I told you. Transition methods are excess solid. So then ammonium salts and group 1 salts are titration. Ammonium salts and group 1 salts are titration. The table shows the properties of 4 chlorides. Magnesium is non-transition. It's not transition. Not transitional lamai. Green, raw. Magnesium chloride is soluble. එහෙනම් මොකක්ද answer එක? C. Should be done with excess solid method.
Imagine if I read the beginning.
Right, question number 18. Salts are made by reacting acids and bases. For which combination acid bases titration? Then rule of thumb done. Titration group 1 no ammonium. Listen, group 1 no ammonium. Right? So you can use soluble acid with what? Soluble base. It's straightforward. Okay. Which statement about acids and bases correct? All strong acid. You guys help me. I mean, if you haven't done, take part in the explanation. All strong acids react with carbonates, but all weak acids do not. True or false?
False.
False. Why? Weak acids also can react with what? Carbonates. One example, you know, you put an egg into what? Decomposition. You put egg into what? Vinegar. Where we go? That
I feel like you put negative right now.
Right? Yeah, how do you give up? You put an egg into vinegar. Do you know the egg gets softened? Why? Yes. Vinegar වල තියෙන vinegar වල දාපු egg එකක් දාන්න පුළුවන් බෝතලයක් කටින් ඇතුළට. ඒක එමිල යනවා මේ සුක්කාස. Right? The reason is okay. The shell of the egg is මොකද මාරේ?
The vinegar is acidic.
Vinegar is acid. It's a weak acid. Come on, mama. Vinegar is ethanoic. Listen. Vinegar is ethanoic. Ethanoic acid, weak acid. Eggshell is made of what? Calcium carbonate. When you put an eggshell into vinegar, it dissolves, giving bubbles. That means carbonates react with what? Weak acids even. Or is even it's a strong acid. ඒක phosphoric තියෙනවා. පොගොල්ලෝ හොඳට පොඩනවා නේද? හරි. Right, next one. It's a false statement. Right, oxides of group 1 metals are amphoteric. False, they are strong bases. Going when the So A and D are wrong. Make a scanning method, make a hurry and there. You need deep analysis. pH of 1 mole ethanoic is higher than pH of 1 mole per dm cube sulfuric. Through the false.
False.
Look false. Right. 1 mole per dm cube nitric is lower than 1 mole per dm cube hydrochloric acid. Right, guys. This is how you do it. Let me do the D and then come to C. Nitric is a strong acid. HCl is also what? Strong acid. Both of them have same what? Concentrate. Then the pH should be what? Same. Therefore, this is false. Since those are false, you choose C is correct. But we'll see why C is correct. The Miyake maker true here. The reason is this. The pH of 1 mole per dm cube ethanoic is higher. First of all, you can see the concentrations are same. This is a strong acid. This is a weak acid. A weak acid is less acidic than strong acid. Less acidic means higher pH or lower pH. Higher pH less acidic and pH at a very. If the acidity is higher, pH goes down. Strong acids have low pH. pH scale like low pHs are strong acids. You get it? Therefore, the answer is C. Right? That is true. We have to read this behavior. Which statement about sulfuric acid is correct? Manufactured by heating hydrogen oxide sulfur. So big light contact process. Complicated. Use as a battery acid, correct? Which aqueous reagent liberates ammonia with ammonium nitrate should be a base. What's the base here? Potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide. Reason which substance react with dilute sulfuric acid? Preparation of pure sample of lead 2 sulfate. Rules done soluble, the insoluble, the lead 2 sulfate. Talk. Soluble, the insoluble, the insoluble. This is insoluble. If that is insoluble, this is a precipitation method. Acid you find a compound where lead is soluble. What's the answer? Lead nitrate. Lead nitrate. Then rules apply to all. Correct answers in our hurry. Which compound can be formed by precipitation? It's a joke because they just said lead sulfate here, insoluble. Now more precipitate other than lead sulfate. Okay, so here we go to Theory questions?
Say that he has to without dependence.
Huh?
It's almost 17.
Then it's not science. We are doing science, so then let's apply theories and do it. Right, let's do question number 24 and 25. Very fast. Only 10 minutes. 24 and 25, 10 minutes. Hurry up, hurry up.
You look like his brother. Yeah. One already like.
We have given past paper number for each question. We might not be able to discuss all the questions today. Probably I'll be discussing around 4 questions. Rest of the questions, you can write the answers and check your answer in the mark schemes when you go home. Please do it, huh? කරොත් ඔයාට research එක මට නෙමෙයි. අයින key questions. I'll explain you.
Maybe Indian.
If you don't know how to write the ionic equation, just skip it and go. I will explain. I'll explain that as a extra knowledge stuff today, and then you can put that into your knowledge bank. Ammonium is an ion. Ammonia is a molecule. Ammonia is a molecule. It's a compound. It can exist alone. Ammonia is an ion. It can't exist alone. should be the compound. NH3. NH4 is ammonia. It can't stay alone. Should be with NNR. Like ammonium chloride, ammonium sulfate, ammonium hydroxide. But you can say like this, ammonia aqueous is equal to ammonium hydroxide base. So when you write this reaction, you can write it or just ammonia or with ammonium hydroxide. This ammonia thing is, I know it's confusing. That's normal. All right, so you have like 30 seconds. I'm up. So here we are discussing the answers for question number 24 and 25, where I might include more theory points for you to remember, hints, tips. Right, here we go. A student adds aqueous sodium hydroxide from burette to dilute sulfuric acid. The student measures the pH value of the mixture during the addition of sodium hydroxide. Describe how the pH value changes. Right. Let me give you an important rule. Again, a rule of thumb. That means it's not like theoretically 100% correct, but usually good to know. Rule of two. Do you know rule of two? I gave that in your school, right? Rule of two. School in Madhuna class. Revision class. Rule of two. What's rule of two? Rule of two is about pH. Right? It's about the pH scale. It's about the pH scale. Let me explain that. It's not hard. pH 1, we usually say it's strong acid. And then add 2 for this. You get 3. You call it weak acid pH. And 2 for this, and 2 for this, 5. Who is 5? That's also weak acid. But let's put this case. It's acidic salts. Acidic salts are in this range. Add 5, add 2, 7. Right? It's going to be what? Neutral salts or water. Neutral salts or water. Or even neutral solutions like alcohols. 9. Basic, but not very basic. Just weak basic, not even just weak basic, very weak basic. So they are basic salts. Salts are not like very acidic or very basic. They are very weak, either very weak acidic or very weak basic. 11. Weak bases. 13. Strong bases. This is called what? Rule of two. Right? So may useful local exam answers here. Example, strong acid, HCl, nitric, sulfuric, and stuff. Right? Weak acid, ethanoic, carbonic, phosphoric, like acidic salts. Salts of strong acids and weak bases, like ammonium salts. Neutral salts, salts of strong acid and strong base, we did last week. Basic salts, salts of strong base and weak acids like sodium carbonate. That's why we say carbonates are weak bases, basic. They are weak basic compounds. Weak bases, ammonia or ammonium hydroxide, not salts of ammonium. Strong bases, group 1 bases or group 2 barium hydroxide. Add this stuff into your knowledge bank nicely. Rule of 2. Rule of 2. Rule of 2. And 1 to 13. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. But remember, the crash course is just some supplementary work for those who have forgotten grade 9. Doesn't mean that you should not study grade 10 work. You must be studying grade 10 work and sharpening your skills in revision class. Our crash course to give you support for the lessons that you have forgotten in grade 9 work. मतलब याद करना Arene? Right, describe how the pH changes. So sodium hydroxide is in the burette and dilute sulfuric acid is in the conical flask. එහෙනම් ළමයි වා start කරන්නේ pH කීයෙන්ද? You are starting from which pH? Your conical flask has sulfuric acid, so you are starting with pH 1, and then it will go to pH when sodium hydroxide is added, right? It will undergo neutralization, and pH 1 will go to what? 7, and if you add excess sodium hydroxide, it will go to 30. That's how I can decide, right? So adds during the addition. So you can say, describe how the pH value changes. You just have to say the pH increases. But the best answer you can say, it starts with 1 and will increase to 7, right? gradually and then it will go to 13. Right? pH starts with 1. You can just say pH increases, that's all right, but I want you, because in the next exam, if they give you 2 marks, then you have to say, right, it starts around 1 and will go to neutral pH 7, right? Finally, it will go to pH 13 because you're adding sodium hydroxide. Okay. Here is a better way of remembering ionic equation rather always deriving them. You know this sodium hydroxide is a strong base. Sulfuric is a strong acid. Therefore, acid gives H plus, base gives hydroxide ion, and that too will give you, what? No need to go for complicated derivation of ionic equation. But you must choose properly whether it's a strong acid, strong base type neutralization. The strong acid gives you H plus, the strong base gives you OH minus, and then you get water. What is meant by the term acid? A substance which gives or you can say donates hydrogen ion. What is the difference between strong acid and weak acid? Strong acid dissociates completely. What Sudhan just said and more elaborated, dissociates completely. Weak acids slightly dissociate slightly to give H plus ions. Dilute sulfuric acid reacts with magnesium to give hydrogen. We can derive it as well as we can write it in a shortcut. Right? It's like this. Let me show you how to derive. Magnesium is a solid plus sulfuric acid is aqueous. When we are at the end, when we are in the third your focus and your interest like a reduce by the may will by intentionally put the mind way of need to understand how important the regardless of whether you're tired or not, how important the stuff that we are discussing here and bring your focus back. Because when you lose the focus, when you lose attention, because you are tired or not, you lose the chance of memorizing things. Attention and the focus are the main things for memory, right? Some of you are not like you're calm and quiet and looking at, but your mind is not here. That is also losing your focus. Some of you are starting to talk and stuff, right? We don't have time to what? May dedicate for such things now. In the every single thing will improve your marks. So here, in order to write ionic equation, the rule is break ionic compounds and acids into ions. That's the only rule. Ionic compounds and acids which are aqueous into ions. Others don't break it. That's the rule. Magnesium is a metal. Don't break that into ions. Sulfuric is an acid. Be careful, it gives you 2H plus 1 sulfate ion. The earlier one I didn't derive. I just wrote the answer, but here I'm going to derive. Magnesium sulfate, aqueous ionic. Aqueous ionic. Therefore, you have to break that into ions. Magnesium 2 plus sulfate ions. Hydrogen gas is just a gas molecule. Now you can see sulfate is identical in either side. We call them spectator ions. What do you call them? Spectator ions. Identical, no change. Just spectate in the situation. Class on the no spectator students. No change. පටන් ගන්නකොට class එක පටන් ගන්නකොට තිබ්බ knowledge එකම තමයි එළියට යනකොටත් තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මුළු පැය දෙකම මොනවද කරලා තියෙන්නේ? Spectate. Right? No learning. Right? So don't be spectator students. Right? Like spectator ions. Then they get cancelled out. Right? No use. And here magnesium has changed to 2 plus, H plus has changed to H2. So that's your ionic equation for magnesium, the acid reaction. This will give you Mg2 plus aqueous plus hydrogen gas. I'm helping you guys, but the rest of the work you must have, you must do for yourself, right? If you are not doing for yourself, don't worry, nobody else will get. Oh, no, they didn't ask the stand symbols, therefore it's not compulsory. Sulfuric වල 2 එක පේන්නේ formula පේන්නේ හරියට examiners ලා පළවෙනි මාර්ක් ගන්න ළමයි કોઈ කිසිම examiner කෙනෙක් ඕගලන්ට ආදරේ නැහැ. They don't know you. They don't care whether you pay the examination fees or not. That's not their job. Their job is to look at the scanned answer and mark it. So if you have just written half letters, they don't bother checking whether this child has written the correct thing or not. They will put a cross and go and mark the next paper. Because they are worried about the number of examination papers they are marked for hour. Because they are paid for that. Right? And they don't know who the person is. They work for their number of scripts per hour. Keeping their quality of marking. So then just seeing a student who has written just half letters and the proper information is not seen, so they can easily put a cross and go to the next one. And even the supervisor checked it, no issue because the student hasn't written the answer fully. So you can't say, no, sir, I will write it in the exam very well, nicely. No, what you get used to, you do in the exam something worse because you're under pressure. Right? You're under pressure. ඔයා මෙතන ලස්සනට ලියුවොත් එදාට ටිකක් ලස්සනට ලියයි. Right? If you write it clear now, fast but clear, proper letters, doesn't have to be beautiful, right? You will do that something little less in the exam because you're under pressure. So if you are doing here half, in the exam it's going to be quarter because you're under pressure. Right? Ammonium chloride can be prepared by reaction between aqueous ammonia and hydrochloric acid. Write an equation. Okay. Ammonia ionic equation. Write an ionic. Ammonium chloride can be prepared by. Write an ionic equation for this reaction. Ammonia, HCl, ammonium chloride. This is the reaction. Now we'll break this into ions. Ammonia is ammonia. HCl is H plus and Cl minus. Ammonium chloride is ammonium plus and Cl minus. For which ion hasn't done anything? Cl point. Cancel out. Know the answer. You're snoring. State suitable reagents and outline the experimental procedure by which pure sample of fertilized potassium chloride could be prepared in the laboratory. When the salt preparation. Here the salt preparation. What's the method you are going to use? What's the method you are going to use? Titration. Then කියන්න potassium chloride group 1 salt. Right? Titration. What are the reagents that you are going to use? Potassium hydroxide and HCl. You need the acid and base. So should I give the answer? No. Unit take a dollar, conical particle dollar, procedure and other unit. Potassium oxide gun the back. It should be the alkali. The alkali is hydroxide. It should titrate karna gun node aqueous base. So you take potassium hydroxide aqueous. Right? That's okay if you have written potassium oxide, you still get the marks for the rest of this steps, right? Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah. The previous one. Yeah, that's easy. It's like this. It's a metal. React with an acid. The acid will give you H plus. Right? Then H plus is becoming hydrogen gas. Right, like that. So then H plus became hydrogen, it became neutral. Magnesium become magnesium 2 plus to its ion. In order to balance the numbers, you put 2H plus. Magnesium is a solid, aqueous hydrogen gas. Right? If you use your common sense, you can write ionic equation without deriving. That's my point. Okay? Right. Next one. The make an answer again, become more answer again, titration method, right? You write. Potassium. I mean, you are right in the answer is not a Borward actor. You have to write. You are a student. Right? You have to get that 4 marks. Potassium sulfate can be prepared by the reaction between dilute sulfuric acid and potassium carbonate. Wait, what's the method? Titration. No. I'm not asking this. Is it titration method or exercise? Like a tricky. Titration, the exercise. Yeah, listen. Then titration, the exercise. Huh? Why you say titration? No. I'm asking this. They didn't ask that. I'm just asking an extra question. Make a titration. Make a. Is this titration or excess solid or precipitation? Precipitation. By which a bar, very mutter. By which a bar, very mutter. How the precipitate to make know? Yes. Huh? Titration. Why do you say titration? I make a titration. What the reason? It's an acid and group 1. Basic thing. Group 1 compounds are soluble. Sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate is soluble. So this is titration. Calculate the mass of. Focus. Calculate the mass of potassium sulfate that can be produced by potassium carbonate. I don't think these are now hard calculations. Let's do it anyway. Moles of potassium carbonate is what you need to find first. Right, that is N equals M over capital M 3.45. Can you tell me the potassium carbonate molar mass 39, 78, 68, 138? Here, potassium carbonate molar mass 138. 138 grams per mole. So when you divide 345 by 138, how much you get? 2.2.025. 0.025 moles. So they are asking about how much potassium sulfate can be produced. No talking, please. Moles of potassium sulfate produced.
Sir, it's 0.0.
0.0. Right, moles of potassium sulfate. That's what you were going to say, right? Potassium sulfate, the ratio is 1:1. So this is 0.025 x. X is 0.025 moles. Now we find the mass of potassium sulfate. Mass of potassium sulfate. Again, N equals M over capital M. 0.025 into M. What's the molar mass of potassium sulfate? 39, 78, 64, 64, 96, 170 here. 174, right? 174. And this is 0.025 into 174 is 4.35 grams. That's the mass. Solution. Carbon is solution except group 1 and 1. You have forgotten the except for. Focus එක තියාගන්න. Right? Give the electronic structure including the ions present in potassium chloride. That's not part 1. You know, potassium ion has lost its last electron. It is still having 3 shells completed. This is potassium ion plus chloride ion was 287 and chlorine atom 287. It has taken extra electrons, so now it's 288. 288, right? So basically both potassium ion and chloride ion surprisingly have the same electron configuration, but different charge, right? It's 2881 for potassium, it becomes 288 potassium ion. 287 is chlorine, and the chloride is 288 again. You are strongly advised to complete this tutorial during 2 days time. That means today night and tomorrow. Put your effort and finish this tutorial. Then what you just learn will not be forgotten. Make a path for the exam again first. Older exam again first. There's no point of doing it. Nothing. Whenever happens, then job does not gonna follow. Right? Okay, now you need to go to question number 35. Question number 35 and 37. 35 and 37. Can give you somewhere around 5 minutes to answer as much as possible. Question number 35 and 37. So this is how the pH changes when a titration happens. Right? pH of aqueous solution changes when a titration happens. When you are dealing with the titration, I have instructed you just draw this sketch and know what you have in the conical flask and the solution. For example, a graph below shows how pH changes of sulfuric acid. No. When aqueous sulfuric is added, so sulfuric is in the burette, slowly to sodium hydroxide. That means sodium hydroxide is in the conical flask. So you are measuring the pH of sodium hydroxide. So no wonder you start at 13. Second. Sketch කරලා පුළුවන් quantitative data ලියන්න. මොනවද quantitative data? 45 cm cube of 45 cm cube of sodium hydroxide is there. Concentration is 0.1150 moles per dm cube. Because these data, I mean sets of data, will be important for you to do the rest of the calculations. So මෙතනින් කෙලින්ම sodium hydroxide ගේ මොනවා හොයන්න පුළුවන්ද? මොනවද හොයන්න පුළුවන්? What can you find here? Volume is known, concentration is known. What you can find? Moles. N equals C විදාලා moles හොයන්න පුළුවන්. Then stoichiometry දාලා sulfuric moles හොයන්න පුළුවන්. The moment you see that, right, you should but this is a strong acid, right? So I can say H plus OH minus. ලියන answers ලියන්න. H2 කොයින්ද ඉන්නේ? මේ භාගයට අහන් ඉන්නේ. ඒකනේ sulfuric H2 නෙමෙයි තියෙන්නේ 2H plus and sulfate ion. or sulfate ion. ඉතින් එන එකපාරට ඔක්කොම කැන්සල් කරලාම ලියන්න. මොකක්ද මේ ionic equation එක strong acid strong base. Yeah, so what is it? H plus plus OH minus H2. ඒක ලියන්න. නැත්තම් derive කරලා ලියන්න අර විදියට. ඔතනත් එන්නේ දෙකයි. මොකද ඔය දෙන්නේ කතාව? Acidified? You are drinking water mixed with acids. There is no joke in that. There are vinegar දාන on a food වලට you are putting an acid with water. and you are drinking Coca-Cola means you are drinking an acid because it contains both citric and phosphoric acid. You are drinking fizzy drinks means you have citric and carbonic acids. You mean if you drink an acid, what will happen? ඉතින් ඔය මික්ස් වෙච්ච ඒවා තමයි ඔය. ඔක්කොම souring taste තියෙන්නේ acid mix වෙච්ච ඒවා. මොකද යාල් තියෙන්නේ effect on that's acid rain effects we learn separately. ඒක අපි වෙනම ඉගෙන ගන්නනේ acidic rain what will happen that it comes to the soil. මේක මේ මොකක් හරි joke එකක් කරලා hina වෙවි ඉන්න වෙලාවක් නෙමෙයි. Right, this is a time to sort out an issue. Come on guys. නෑ acidified water කියන එක වැරදි කතාවක් නෙමෙයි. acidified water කියලා තියෙනවා.
Acidified water is HCl.
No. Any acid dissolved water is acidified water. Even you dissolve ethanoic acid, that means vinegar in water, is an acidified water. Sanitize is alcohol. Sante ඔය මොඩ කතාව කියන්න එපා හැමරික් එකට. කවුරු හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇහුවා හැමතිස්සෙම මේ මොඩ උත්තරේ දෙන්න එපා. දීලා බලන්න. Huh? You are asking that out of curiosity or just for a joke?
Joke.
And plus joke. Yeah, ඒක මෙහෙමයි. Sanitizer, ආගන්නකො sanitizer is a mixture of glycerin, alcohol. It may be either ethanol or isopropyl alcohol, and some germicides which can kill germs. And rest is water. So he has put glycerin into the body, which may be metabolized, and he has put alcohol into the body. The liver is going to get affected, and glycerin anyway affecting the liver. The germicide is very dangerous. Liver is under pressure. So he might, if he has taken a level which is lower than the lethal level, he won't die that moment. But it will affect his internal organs. Maybe long-term effect. Right? May not be immediate effect. Right? If he has the tolerance for the amount that he consumes, the body might have detoxified all the toxins that he has drowned and may not have a big impact. හැබැයි tolerance level එකට වැඩි දීලා තියෙනවා නම් internal organs වලට effect එකක්.
Okay, so we use the this was the function of the liver. Function of the liver, deamination of amino acids.
No. It is detoxifying everything in the body. So deamination is also deamination is also part of the job of the liver, because if you have too much of amino acids, it has to be deaminated. Remove the ammonia part and make uric acid and send it in the body.
So what is the use of glycerin is an intermediation of
Noting the calculation. You had to use the. All right, let's find the answers for this. Now, when you are answering this, listen, when you are answering this, it's important that you need to understand how many marks given. So with the number of marks given, that you have to decide the method to do it. For example, the ionic equation for this reaction is straightforward. You guys already know neutralization is this. There is no carbon dioxide produced, there is no precipitation, so it's plus OH minus water. Right? And what volume of acid has been added? pH 7, I use the graph. At pH 7, you have added 20 cm3. This is called endpoint volume. What do you call this? Endpoint volume. This is where the your indicator has changed the color for you to find the volume of acid needed for the base. Right? Okay. Use your answer to part 1. Make a current one. This is the most important question of this part of the question. You did it. Good. Very good. You are almost there. Right? Found only the found more. Concentrate. More concentration was ahead of the problem. Yeah, you're almost there. You have done a careless mistake. Double check. Now, what are you doing? I'm talking, right? Story के ऊपर use करा के तो बाहर there is a content also do that on the content series. Right. Okay, everyone pay attention here. So in order to find the concentration of sulfuric acid, concentration N equals CV, you need the volume. You need this. You need moles. This is how you analyze the question. Right? You need volume, you need moles. You know the volume. How do you know the volume? You just found it, right? Volume is 20. Volume is 20. But we don't know the moles. Moles in order to find the moles, as I told you, we can start off with what? Sodium hydroxide. Because we know its concentration and volume. Right? So then we find moles of sodium hydroxide. N equals CV. Concentration is 0.15 anything. Into 45 divided by 1000, right? So you get 0.675 here. 0.10 to the power minus 3.
1000.
10 to the power minus 3, right?
Yes.
So this is the moles. That's sodium hydroxide moles. Right? And then you find sulfuric moles by using stoichiometry. Sulfuric moles. Stoichiometry is 2:1. 6.75 into 10 to the power minus 3. X is equal 3.325 into 10 to the power minus 3. This is the moles of what? Sodium hydroxide. No, sorry, sulfuric acid. To find the concentration, we apply N equals Cv. So N is 3.375, 10 to the power minus 3. Concentration we don't know. Volume is 20 into 10 to the power minus 3. The concentration will be then 1.6875 into 10 to the power minus 2. 0.016875. Okay, 0.1616, 0.09. Sorry about the error in my calculation. 0.1687. That's why that's the endpoint volume. The titration the endpoint volume make important say that. Sorry. Seven. Make a bezel pan I can like it. And then I go back with that. Yeah. The 20 into 10 to the power minus 3 because you have converted it into 20 divided by 1000. That's why I say you were almost there, but you didn't careless mistakes. Right. Now things getting harder with the next set of questions. අහගෙන හිටියොත් කලින් ගෙදර යන්න පුළුවන් නැත්නම් 10 විතර වෙන්නේ. Right? The experiment was repeated using ethanoic acid. Same concentration of sulfuric acid. Same volume of concentration and aqueous sodium hydroxide used. The volume of ethanoic acid required to neutralize the aqueous sodium hydroxide is twice as great compared to the volume of sulfuric acid. අපි එක reason එක බලමු අහගන්න ලියන්න. Most of you write this is because ethanoic is a weak acid. That's not the answer. Whether it's a strong acid or weak acid doesn't matter for a neutralization. Let me show you the reason. Sodium hydroxide, this is something to deal with stoichiometry. You need 2 sodium hydroxide to react with sulfuric acid. Okay, You need 2 sodium hydroxide to react with sulfuric acid, 1 mole of sulfuric acid. But when sodium hydroxide react with ethanoic acid, the stoichiometry is 1:1. Sodium ethanoate. We write sodium ethanoate, putting sodium at the back. Plus 4. What's the stoichiometry? This is 2:1. This is what? 1:1. Right, listen. If you need only 20 cm cube of sulfuric, how much ethanoic needed? If you need 20 cm cube of sulfuric, how much ethanoic is needed for the same amount of sodium hydroxide to react? 10.
20.
Okay, പ്രശ്നം.
44.
Say 40.
You're asking for that to innovate how much you need. Ethanol.
Yeah.
40.
Huh? අහගන්න පුතා. ගාන හදන්න තුවාන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Sulfuric giving you how many hydrogen ions? 2. Ethanoic is giving how many hydrogen ions? 1. So for ethanoic to do the same job of 1 sulfuric, you need 2 ethanoic. Because ethanoic gives you only 1 H plus. Sulfuric gives you 2 H plus. So to do the same job of 1 mole of sulfuric, how much of ethanoic is needed? You can think like this. 2 sodium hydroxide needs 1 sulfuric. Then 2 sodium hydroxide needs how many ethanoic? 1 to 1 means 2 ethanoic needed. Right? You need twice as much as sulfuric of ethanoic is needed. Therefore, you need how much? 40 cm cube. Because let me show you again, sulfuric gives you 2 hydrogen ions. Ethanoic can give only how many hydrogen ions? 1 hydrogen ion. So in order to do the same job of 1 mole of sulfuric, how many ethanoic is needed? I think sulfuric H plus kiyenne nada ekkene sulfuric H plus kiyenne nada. Okay. This marker, this pen has only 1 clip. Right? Like ethanoic. And this pen has 2 clips. Right? So in order to equate the 2 clip pen, how many 1 clip pens are needed? 2. So sulfuric is like this. Right? You need 20 sulfuric in the titration. 20 sulfuric means how many clips? How many clips? 40 clips. You get it? 20 double clip pen means 40 clips. So in order to get 40 clips, how many 1 clip pens are needed? 40. So you have to balance the 22 clip pens. 22 clip pens. How many 1 clip pens are needed? 40. If you need 20 for 20 here to balance it, how many 1 clip pens are needed? 40. 40. Double the 2 clip pens number. So sulfuric is like a 2 clip pen. You need 20 of sulfuric in order to do the same job. How much of ethanoic is needed? Then 40. Because it can give you only H plus. 20 will give 40 H plus. In order to get 40 H plus, you need 40 of ethanoic because it gives only 1 H plus. Right? So how do you write the answer? Ethanoic gives only 1 H plus, whereas sulfuric gives 2 H plus for 1 mole. So you need double the amount of ethanol, right? So the answer is, you can write the balance equation for your reference. The answer is sulfuric gives out 2H plus for 1 molecule. Sulfuric gives 2H plus for 1 molecule. But ethanoic gives 1 H plus. But ethanoic gives 1 H plus. It's kind of a hardest questions that you can get in these acid-based questions. Ethanoic gives only 1 H plus. So you need. Anyway, they have said like twice as great unknown, they have already said, right? That's the reason. Suggest the pH. Suggest the value of pH after addition of ethanoic acid there. So will it drop to here because of sulfuric? It has dropped to 2. But if you use ethanoic, will it drop to 2 or 3? 5. Oh, 5. What is the ethanoic pH? The other rule of 2. It's a weak acid. What's the pH? Weak acid pH is 3. So now the new graph, ethanoic use karana graph එක මෙහෙම එන්න නම්. මේක exam එකේදී අහනවා double the volume and the pH is going to end around 3 because ethanoic pH is what? 3. Right? So this is when ethanoic is used. This is when ethanoic is used. Try to understand, huh? Very important. It's a weak acid, so the final pH is changing. And it gives only 1 H plus, so you need double of the acid than the sulfuric acid. But the same base, no, you started with sodium hydroxide, that part doesn't change. That part doesn't change. Right. So then suggest the value pH is around 3. Sulfuric acid is one of the acids present in acid rain. Suggest how sulfuric acid formed in the atmosphere. It's a hard question. It's a hard question. Listen, it's a hard question. First of all, you should tell how sulfuric is produced due to burning of fuel. Fuel contains sulfur that reacts with oxygen to produce sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide reacts with oxygen further to give sulfur trioxide. This is the contact process reaction. But it can happen in the atmosphere also. And sulfur trioxide dissolves in water to give sulfuric. This is how sulfuric is produced in acid rains. Sulfur in fuel reacts with oxygen to give sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide reacts with oxygen to give sulfur trioxide. Sulfur trioxide dissolves in water to give sulfuric acid. Dissolves in water to give sulfuric acid. State one effect of acid rain on human health. Human health. That's why he asked the question, right? So if sulfuric acid is going to fall with the acid, so it is definitely what? Corrosive, right? It's corrosive. It can damage the skin. It can damage your eyes, right? Huh? Kidney damage වෙන්න නම් අපි consume කරන්න ඕනේ sulfuric. අපි consume කරන්නේ අපි දැන් acid rain එකේ ඒ තියෙන්නේ acid rain වල direct impact එකක් නෙමෙයි. ඒ තියෙන්නේ sulfuric has increased the iron concentration in the solution. If you drink that water only, we get that impact. So they are asking direct impact. Skin damages, eye irritations, right? Since sulfuric acid is corrosive. Human health issues are acid rains. Otherwise, what's the normal main consequences of acid rains. What are the main consequences of acid rains?
Soil pH decreases.
Soil pH decreases, soil become acidic. Huh? That's secondary effect. No? What about the limestone building and the metal construction? Huh? They wear away. Limestone constructions wear away, especially metals undergo corrosion faster. You know? Acid base, salt, riverite, you know the difference in your knowledge after this lesson. Next day, right? This Wednesday, we are doing, as I put that in the chat, we are doing what? Electrolysis. Okay, electrolysis. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the meeting. Online students.